two, three. Good morning, students. So, welcome to yet another episode of an interview with CEO. So, today's CEO is Devleena Bhatacharjee. She is a master's in computers with a degree in statistics, maths, and computers. She is a data scientist with 14 plus years of experience working across 6 countries. She is a serial entrepreneur. So the first company that she founded was Vocation. The second one, which is a data science startup called Numer8. She holds 2 patents in using image analysis to determine location. And her company has won a lot of awards in international forums like European Space Agency and United Nations World Food Program. She also, Numerate also won the first prize in ESRI Geo Innovation 2019. Welcome to the show, Devleena.
Hello, good morning, everybody. Thank
Yeah.
you, Jitesh, for having me, and I'm hoping I can, provide you valuable inputs that your students can benefit from the industry side of things.
Thank you so much. So the first question I have, Devleena, is that you 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 know you studied in Bangalore, of course, and then you have reached a level where you're able to start up a company, right? Or you have actually started up two companies. So, what work ethics were important for you as a student to succeed in your career? I mean, what work ethics would you recommend that a student have to succeed in
Um,
his career, in his or her career?
right. So, well, there are, if you generally talk about work ethics, students should abide by. There are many things that are written academically about being attentive, being having the right attitude, having the right character and communication. But I believe it depends on what you're really looking out for. Work ethics is something that is tied to what you want to be. I mean, if you want to, for the first 9.5 years of my career, I have worked in an organization
Yeah.
in a very hierarchical role where
Yeah.
a role is assigned to me and I have to live up to that role. In that kind of environment, the work ethics that really comes into application is being able to deliver on a day-to-day basis, being able to ask the right questions and get the answers, get the solution made, have the right communication in place, be with your team that be it with the team that you manage, or be with your stakeholders that you report to. But apart from that, when I started my individual journey as an entrepreneur, the work ethics changed drastically. In that, it's more about how you're being able to amass a lot of unknown and be comfortable in the ambiguity and be able to carve out your own space into it. So if I have to tie it back to being so if I have to really look at my own journey, where I was part of an employer employee relationship for the longest time, for 9 years, and then now for the last 5 years I've been in an entrepreneurial journey. I think the best thing is being able to always be aware of innovation, always be aware of the fact that you need to look out of the box. You need to be comfortable with experimenting with various things, and while not losing focus. So being aware of the unknown, being comfortable with the unknown, and being able to take some little bit of minute level calculated risks in knowing whether whatever you're doing today, as of today, is good enough for your for the next 5 or 10 years, or is there a course correction that is needed. Are you happy with yourself? Is there something, other things that might be out there interested for you? So being curious, I believe, is the word, but being cautiously curious and not taking big risks with whatever you're doing, but being able to also be mindful of the fact there's a larger world out there, which is which has a lot of other possibilities. So I believe that is there. Apart from the general thing about being organizing, you know to organize your work, being able to deliver your work in calculate time. I won't go there. That's pretty much beaten about in every other forum.
Okay, makes sense. So your company is into data science, right?
Mhm.
What exactly does Numerate do?
All right. So Numerate is currently, we analyze various kinds of data. We analyze space data and we analyze numerical data as well. The problem that we're currently trying to solve is for the fisheries sector, where in a where we are working with small scale fishermen and helping them be sustainable on a day-to-day basis. A little bit of what we do is we help small scale fishermen be operationally profitable. We help them have higher margins for their sales, and we help them connect better to the microfinances. On the other side of the funnel, since we work with the seafood industry, while helping the fishermen, we also help every seafood consumer to get complete traceability of their seafood products. We help them understand where their seafood has come from, and which kind of assures them the quality and assures them supply chain guarantee. So that's what the problem we the current problem we are solving. But Numerate as a whole is a data analytics platform. We love, taking up challenges where there is a large community of users, or there's a large user base who can benefit from the analysis. We are conscious of the fact that we only take up problems that there has a global implications. We research into the matter for months altogether to understand there is a global market out there, and there is a global need out there. So uh, Numerate's philosophy is to apply data for solving global challenges, and to be able to do it with a very user friendly approach, so anybody who is not a very tech user can also use a product.
Okay, that makes sense. So what tools do you use? Because we also have in our I mean Bangalore campus, we have a business analytics program. Okay, it's
Hmm.
an MBA, and wherein it's a dual degree program where the MBA comes from the Amrita University, and MS in business analytics comes from the State University of New York. So I hear from the MBA students that they use this tool called Python R to do
Hmm.
some data analysis. So, what kind of tools would you recommend students use to start playing around with data and do things the way you? I mean, like
Right. I wouldn't
look at
recommend.
data like the way you. Yes, yes, please.
Yes, I wouldn't recommend tools per se. Python and R are basic building blocks, a basic programming language that every data science students needs to know. And data science has three major areas. If I really have to classify it, one major area is where you're being able to amass large amounts of data, various unstructured data, and massage them and bring it to the machine learn. Bring it to a form where the machine understands it. So machine readable form rather. So it's data gathering. The second part is analyzing the data and being able to derive some meaning out of it programmatically, and the third part is being able to visualize it. You need not necessarily be able to or be proficient into all the three different types of data problems that I'm talking about here. So there is a large amount of tools available for data ingestion and data messaging and data normalization. There's a different set of tools for analysis where your programming comes into perspective, the Python and the R of the world, various other such of machine learning algorithms that comes into picture. And the visualization is a different sector altogether, where there are various tools where you can just throw the data and visualize it, but you'll have to make sense of the problem statement and design it the way your customer wants. So it's necessary for you to understand the basic logic of what you're of what you're writing, or what you're solving, why you're solving, and what are the various other ways of solving it. So it's for a data problem, it is necessary to approach it from the problem side of things and not from the tech side of things. Tech is only the means to an end. So when you first understand the problem, then you can map it to what kind of algorithms is best fitted, what kind of models is best fitted. So then that's the second question. The first thing is to I wouldn't recommend tools, but I would recommend the approach to really solving a data science problem. So the answer to what you're solving, why you're solving, for whom you're solving is the first question you need to ask, and then know enough idea to know also which tools can map to it. And also learning tools is fairly easy. There are tons of materials online. So if I wouldn't tell a student to really zone into just learning Python and R, but keep on studying. It's a very fast evolving field. Keep on studying, keep on referring the internet for any new kind of tools, methodologies, algorithms, models, and then keep them updated with the industry, on a regular basis.
Okay, that makes sense. That is a good answer. Another question that has come to me is, how do you evaluate the current business requirement and future business requirement? Let's say numerate. You might know what is happening today because of the constant interaction that you're having with your clients and stakeholders. Now, how do you arrive at future business requirement? How do you determine that this is the direction that numerate should take in another 5 years time?
Correct. So, every organization, whenever you maybe you don't realize it on the first day of your company being formed, but I've had close to a little over 5 years of entrepreneurial journey so far, and I know what I really want to do and what I love to do. At the end of the day, for a startup like ours, a 15-member team, a very small team, I would say it is essential for us to know what we love doing. That's one thing of that. One thing that is very important. The second thing is that what you can do as a team. What are your skill sets? I mean, and where can you value add? So once there are many problems out there in the world that you can solve maybe, but what are your skill sets where you're not stretching yourselves too thin and having to depend on external resources to solve a problem. So that's the second thing I would say. The third thing is, of course, doing a market research well enough to understand that there is a large pool of customers and there is a large section of unattended market that needs your problem. What is the customer or what is your end user using today? What are their challenges that you're planning to solve? And where can you really give them a solution that they'll use on a continuous basis? So things like that. So if you have to really holistically map out business requirements that you can solve in the future, it's more or less in the direction, the trajectory they already. So we are a data science startup. We will never be an e-commerce startup. So I wouldn't, change that approach. So being a data science startup and being the kind of data that we analyze, what kind of other challenges there in the market that can be analyzed given the tech, given the platform that we have, given the fact there is a large pool of users who will use it, and given the fact that we will do a significant value add to the market and not just repeating already existing solutions. So we are innovators. We don't like copycat solutions. So where is the innovation? Where is there is a good enough room for us to play? That's definitely something that we do even as of today. Any new challenges, we kind of factor in all this in, and we see where it starts and where it stands, and if that is at all doable for us.
Okay, makes sense. So again, Devlina, for the time that you have been an entrepreneur, your achievements have been highly impactful. Like being recognized by European Space Agency and United Nations, is a huge achievement, right? I mean, what does it take for somebody to you know lead large scale initiatives like yours?
Well, every initiative kind of starts small and then it grows to the scale we are talking about. There are various such business the planning canvases that are available, where they tell you that if you're looking at a problem, what all different aspects that you need to look at. What is the challenge? What is the solution? Who are your beneficiaries? But I think the first question that you really that we you all of us really need to solve, and which makes the rest of the problem looks easier, is the why. The why question. So that's the first thing. So but when you're talking about a large scale solution, say a large scale global product that we are building, starting with the why and then mapping into whom we are solving the problem to, that's where your planning comes into picture. So when you know, okay, I am trying to solve these problems because I need to bring in change here. But then the second question, where you're saying, okay, whom you're solving the problem to, who is your customer segment, where are they residing, what is their demography, what are their habits, what are their various on a day-to-day challenges. When you For that, you need the market research and the customer research at a very effective level. You need to take user interviews. So even for the current product that we are building, we have gone around India interviewing fishermen. At the end of the day, I cannot be locked up in my a Mumbai house and solve a problem for a fishing community whom I don't belong to. So you really need to go and meet your users, talk to them, know their daily habits, know them, know why they are not already doing it and why nobody else have done it. So the market study is very crucial, the customer study is very crucial. For your product can only scale if the users you want to use the products will use it effectively and daily. It's called the toothbrush test, right? That every day you need your toothbrush in the morning. So do your product fit that requirement? Do your user will your user use your product on an everyday basis? And every day can be a maybe a term for a regular basis. So it may not need everyday use, but your product might need every week of use or every month use, but it should be regular and it should be repetitive. So what will make your product stand out that way? And also, how can you scale globally? So that's where your architecture comes into perspective, saying, am I building a solution that if I have to go and step outside India and apply it to Indonesia or Philippines or to the United Nations, United States, can I do it flexibly without changing the core product features? So having that in place while you're architecting or designing the product is very essential. So yeah, so more or less, doing your research well, doing your tech architecture diagram well, and making sure that you have done enough study before going to the drawing board to building your product design is the is the key thing.
Okay, thank you so much. That was very good answer. One question I have now: almost 5 years you've been as an entrepreneur, and you've been in data science industry. What is unique about data science industry, and are there any correlations between the your industry and some other industry?
Yeah, so the best thing that I like about data science is that it's universal. It's pretty much the fact that every industry has has a data problem. So data is not domain specific. Even as a as in when I was working back in the corporate, I we worked across the telecom industry, the retail industry, the satellite communication industry, the logistics industry, and every one of them has a data problem that we are solving. The data is pretty much there across in all domains. That's what makes it unique. And the other fact, correlation, well, talking about the uniqueness of the data is that it's we talk about big data. So, but data need not necessarily be big in size to have a problem. So the the very good or the interesting thing about data is that you can solve a problem bottom up or even the top down. So you can look at a large macro set of data and then try to analyze, okay, what are the various important data points there, or you can go up from the bottom level as well, take a small problem and then say, okay, what other data points attribute to it. So that's what makes the data interesting for that matter. And when you talk about correlations, again, we have, as a startup, we have worked so far in various such domains. As a when we are offerings when we were doing back in the days, we were doing services. We were working with the supply chain industry for hotels, for restaurant chains, for various others, manufacturing industry. So there are correlations that we have seen across all various domains, various industries. And but the basic tying fact is where the business problem that you're solving, for each business problem, the data points that are needed is the tying thing. So if you can understand that, that is more or less the that can you can encompass the entire solution by it. Did I answer your questions? Sorry, I think I kind of got
No,
carried away with other things.
no problem, no problem. I think that answered. Another question I had was, see, how do you what data sources would you recommend uh, students to follow so that they maintain a macro level view of the economy or the industry or any target industry they want to join? So what would you recommend? Are there any open data sources that you would
There are
recommend?
many. So the lovely fact that we are in the age where everything can be accessed from just your laptop in your home, is that makes this industry or the tech industry easy to apply. I mean, build any tech solution for that matter. And if, I mean, there are plentiful sources, so you can go to a Kaggle and solve problems, data problems across various domains. That I hope your students know about Kaggle. Kaggle is a place where every day there's a new data challenges that is given. Be
Yes,
it be a housing problem, be it be a population problem, be it be a satellite based problem, you'll
yes,
find such challenges there. And what
yes,
happens there is also you get an idea of what kind of open data sources that you have. So if I have to do some kind of population demography analysis, I can go to opendata.gov, which is an Indian run government government platform for open data in India. Similarly, various other countries have this open data as well. If you want to solve a crime problem for Boston, there are various such open data available for crime patterns in the USA. So every data almost comes in some flavor of the open source nowadays, and it 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 gives you at large enough data play. The second thing is for the important thing about data science is that you can never rule out a data source unless and until you have amassed it, you've ingested it, and you have analyzed it to know that it does not affect your problem statement. So whenever solving a problem in data science, look at it from a large aspect, consider everything, model it, and see if there are correlations between data point A, data point B, data point C. If there's negative correlations, rule them out. If not, then include them further in the model and study the effect of your model. So it is necessary for you to approach, again, I keep on saying this to even my team members and everywhere else, whatever problem you're trying to solve, and especially this data problem, approach it from the question perspective, what you're trying to solve. And when you know what you're trying to solve, map into the data points that you need. So if I have to solve a problem and I have 10 questions, okay, to solve this 10 questions, what are the data points that I need? And then go to the fact is where those data points come from. Never start with, okay, I have 10 sources, this 10 sources will give me this issue. Don't approach it that way. Approach it from the perspective of what is the question, what are the what questions, and then what data points, and then come from which sources you get the data from.
okay, makes sense. So, do you really think that these open data sources that you mentioned, are they what is that? Are they useful, or I mean, can they be made better by the government? Can the government give more data sources, make it more available, or do you feel um, current
Oh, I mean, of course, that's
availability
an
is good?
an ongoing debate, right? But
Yes.
only the more they provide, the better. But having said so, whatever is out there is good enough for you to study a certain problem, or good enough for you to pilot a model or model solution that you're trying to build. Nothing will stop you from doing that. There's more than enough data points out there for which, if you have to really analyze or study, there's there. But also not stopping from saying that the government can give us much more data points available for our various studies. For example, in India, at least it's three. If I look up now, I'll get 2 years old data. I won't get 2020 data. I'll only get 20,000, 2018 or something 2017 data point. So it's old. It makes our lives difficult when you're trying to do any kind of analysis within the last 2 years. But yeah, government can do better, but is not stopping you from building your models. And if you want to go a little bit further in getting the recent most data, you can always walk up to a government office and request for them, and they really help you if you really can show why you're doing it.
Okay. So, what tips would you give our MBA business analytics students to build their career in data science?
Well, I would say, even if your academics is about learning tools and technologies, look at use cases where a data has helped bring about a change, or data has helped bring about a solution. If you can know that, how the industry purview a certain data science issue, then you'll know where the application is, especially for business analysts. It's essential to know the business, essential to know the business requirements, and how do you even collect the business requirements. So if for example, if somebody comes to you and tell you that, he's the owner of, say, a supply chain, and he's telling me that he's rather, giving you that the problem that I'm not being profitable, I want to know where my costs are. So that's a single statement that he'll make for you. You that maps into you analyzing product wise profitability, you analyzing operational cost, you analyzing every other, staff cost, every process oriented cost. So if you really have to understand what are the various parts of a mechanism, various parts of a certain industry, you have to know that industry well. So for that, as a student, it's very very essential for to know the industry wide use cases, to study papers, to study any kind of solutions that are out there in the market, large enough solution catering to enterprise level initiatives, so that you get an idea about where the data play is. Just knowing the tools and technologies will never help. It's essential to know your tools and technologies, which we do, and which we concentrate. All of us, as student, we concentrate on understanding our tools and programming methods and languages and visualization, flows and all. But it's essential for you to look at the bigger case and study such market ready solutions.
Okay, makes sense. So, what according to you is business acumen, Devleena?
Well, it's well, I think that there's lot, there are various out there. If you talk about just the entrepreneur side of things, there are industry use words that, like, you can either be an innovator, which is typically like Steve Jobs or the Larry Pages of the world are classified as innovators, where the Richard Bransons or the Mark Cubans of the world are classified as hustlers. And then there are imitators who copy a product from a certain geography and do it very well in a different geography. So you have, example near home is Sachin and the Bini Bansals of the world, Bhavish Agarwal of India for Ola. And but then there are other researchers, like, where you other business acumen skill set that you see in Peter Thiel, whom I really classify as a researcher. He researches extensively into every product that he builds. Or somebody like, say, a company such as CureFit, who has just bought many companies and developed it as a single solution. So there are various business acumens. I, from my personal perspective, one of the entrepreneurs I follow the most is Jeff Bezos. And Bezos' journey has been incredible. I mean, from the fact that he came from a very technical side of things, and now he has built in Amazon to the extent that it is. And I believe, whenever I look back into his story, he has the right balance, and he has been stubborn about his beliefs, but he has also been flexible about adapting to changes and adapting to understanding what the world needs. He loves operating from a small team. So I think his famous word is, it should always be, if you have to buy more than two pizzas to cater to your team, you have a large team. So a small team to at the starting of the company, and not taking too many people out on board, is something that I live by. Never stop experimenting is, of course, you innovate, rinse and repeat, innovate, rinse and repeat. That keeps on happening. That's one thing that you, unless and until you have mastered your solution and mastered your approach, it's a rinse and repeat every day. Thinking long term, thinking beyond your current your status quo, being able to think globally, and then narrow down to saying that, okay, globally, I there is a problem, but I start with say Mumbai, for that matter. And be obsessive about customer satisfaction. If your customers are not satisfied with the product, the customer are not finding your product easy enough to use, interesting enough to use, I don't know what kind of product features you have, but all of them, be obsessive over the fact that customers are, it doesn't have to, blink twice to really use your product. And that is a business acumen from the industry side of things. But I believe when you're talking about business, your team matters a lot. So your team should be able to know what exactly is going in your head. You cannot be a singled out individual who is thinking about bringing change to the world, and your team is not aware of it. So being able to talk to your team, communicate to team, bring your team on board, so that you alone can never do. I mean, nobody want, there's no single person in the business field, right? He or she needs to have a team who backs him up, backs her, innovations, backs her ideas, backs her, uh, you know uh, new interest in new marketplaces. So your team is very essential. So to, I mean, there are various ways of looking into it, but I believe these are the things that keeps a person going for the, not only for a small section for a limited number of years, but for the longer run.
Thank you, Devleena. What has been the impact of COVID in your business? How has it impacted you?
Well, it's a very interesting topic that in the last 2 months we have been, that has been actually the best months for us to test our product. To talk a little bit about it again so that you get the context, is we work with fishermen. So we help fishermen get a better catch while out in the sea, but we also help them sell their catch. So with COVID and having the formal supply chain broken, now they were not able to sell their catch using the supply chain channels that they use on a regular day. So where we stepped in and we they could help use our product to sell directly to their consumers. So COVID has been a very interesting case because back in January and February we were still piloting this feature of a product, and COVID helped us overnight scale our product from 25 users to 500 plus users as of today. So, and
Okay.
in the span of 2 months, given the fact that there are various operational, tech, marketing, various sides of the story, right? And so our team has gone a little bit crazy over the last few months. And but we are happy that our product got tested so efficiently, and we at the end of the day, we have been able to reach out to communities far beyond our imagination.
So, so this solution that you provide, it's basically based on satellite imagery, or how does it work? So
Yes,
how do
so
you know?
correct. So satellite image analysis is what we do. So that helps us analyze fish breeding zones. That helps us analyze ocean observation data from various 9 different factors like chlorophyll, SST, sea surface height, and through that we analyze potential fishing zones into the sea, which helps us, point out fishing zones to the fishermen, and through which they don't really have to roam for long into the sea. They know exactly where their fish zones are. We save them on fuel cost, and alongside we help them, we provide them hyperlocal data, which is valuable for them if they're out in the sea. So currently all data channels that you see do not provide hyperlocal data. The ones that you see that are open source, hyperlocal data is needed when it is applicable for a certain zone into the sea. So that's what we provide. And second thing is that all this information of where they are going on a regular basis, what lat and long, which port, what kind of catch they're coming back with, weight of the catch, details of the fish types are all recorded in our data platform, which further helps us sell them to a buyer in the market. So our product is end to end, helps them get the catch and also helps them sell the catch to a market player.
Okay. And what's the monthly? Is it a subscription model or is it like a one-time
It's a
licensing
subscription
fee?
model, but it's also a transaction based model. So any kind of transactions happening in our platform, we take a percentage of it, and we take a
Okay.
subscription cost monthly.
Oh, monthly subscription cost. Okay. Because you know what, as I told you, we are a mutt-owned university, and the mutt is situated in a fisherman village. So I was there, posted there for the past 2 years, and I've seen many times, fishermen coming without any fish, and they're very sad. I believe this has a huge impact. I'm sure I will connect you to some people there in the mutt and see what can be done.
Sure, one, that would be
So,
lovely.
so the next thing that I would like to ask you is, what is strategic planning according to you, and how can one get better at strategic planning?
Okay. This interesting because back in the days when in my first startup we were pivoting across various domains. So at the end of the day, we were still techies back then. I say techies back then because currently I've moved on to the business side of things, rather than, and my team handles the tech part mostly. But back in the days, we were trying to analyze, what all can be done. So we had some tech tools in hand, and we were trying to analyze what all can be done, which should not be the approach. So what we learned later on, planning again starts with why. So we always keep on asking us this. We then kind of segmented into a structure. It's a question that we ask ourselves before, which helps us into planning a product. The question goes like this: it's like, why you're doing this, for whom you're doing it, what would you like to see, in what time period, with what impact, and to achieve all the above, what you need to do, and how you do this. So why, for whom, what you do like to see, in what time period, what impact you're trying to make, what you need to do to achieve the above, and how you do that. So if you see, the how is the last question. So last question is basically telling you, okay, what is the back end framework, or front end application that you need. That's the last question that we have, but we always start with the why and then nail it down further. And this question is what we use for any kind of new innovations, new product features, new market, new customer, and that more or less and gives you the gives you the data points what you go need to start studying on. So this doesn't answer your question, doesn't give a solution to your question, but gives you what's the approach that you should take to solve your question. And plan and strategize your product, strategize your marketing needs, strategize your technical needs, strategize your team in place. Everything comes out of here.
Fantastic. That's a very good pointer questions that you have shared. I'm sure our students would be jotting it down once they hear it. The next or the last question I have is, can you please recommend few books that have inspired you?
Sure. So, I mean, there are plenty. I'm an avid reader. I'm though my current schedule does not permit me to do so, but I make sure at least twice a week I'm reading a book. But from the top of my head, I believe I kept on saying the question why. So there's a book called Start with Why by Simon Sinek. It's very important. It kind of changed my entire approach to uh, product strategy, market, team strategy. So that actually changed my decks as well. So I create business decks, right? So uh,
Yep.
after reading Simon Sinek, it kind of gave me a better view of how to really engage your audience better when you're presenting a deck. So that's
Yes.
important. Second thing
Yep.
that comes, second book is I would recommend Zero to One by Peter Thiel, which
Yep.
talks about how to really create value in the world, and why should even you do what you are planning to do. I mean, why should you even start a company? And then the fact that he uses this sentence which calls real selling only happens when your customer is not even aware of the fact that he's selling. So the fact that how to create a value that your customers can carry in implicitly, and talk about it without being forced to talk about it. So Zero to One is definitely recommended. The third, if I have to really, yeah, the third I would say Build to Last. I mean, we're talking about entrepreneurs, we're talking about product, but if you really want to build long lasting companies, how to really adapt to changes, as we're talking about COVID, right? How to really make sure that your company organization, because that is also an entity, right? There's a living breathing entity you're building a company. How they adapt to change, how they thrive in change, how do uh, you know uh, you survive, not only survive but thrive. So there was it's called Built to Last. It's by Jim Collins, a definite read. And he talks about strong companies evolve better when thrown into when given a difficult changing time. So they evolve better because they always have that in mind while building the company, have that contingency plan saying that, okay, if this happens, then we might not know what is going to happen, but if something unknown happens, this is how we adapt. So that is very important whenever you're building a company, whenever you're thinking about a business, to be able to survive through unknown and have that planning done for the future as well.
Thank you, Devleena. That was really good recommendation. I remember Simon Sinek's one YouTube video I've seen. I guess that also is with the
Yes,
same. I think it's a precursor to his book. I guess so. It again titles start with why. It's a TED talk. I guess it's a
yes,
TED
yes,
talk or
correct.
something.
In fact, that's where I first saw him, and then I was very interested and read his book. And yeah, it's wonderful. I mean, it's kind of nails
Very
the
good.
problem.
Very good. Very good. So thank you so much, Devlina. I really appreciate your time, and I'm sure this, podcast would definitely have a lot of hits because I'm sure a lot of tips you have given will definitely help students. Thank you so much, Devlina.
Thank you very much, Jitesh, and I wish your students all the very best for now and for the future.
Thank you. Bye bye.